Hi everyone, so I consider this video as a sequel to the previous one, where I was speaking about 5 things that made me a better painter. This time the list will include things that you really don't need, but some of them might seem quite useful. So let's jump into the video. Number 1. Millions of Paints. So as mentioned in the previous clip, and this will probably be a recap of the footage from the previous video, you really don't need that many paints. Just have a look at my stack. I have so many paints. I thought about it and I looked up how many I use regularly. And to be quietly honest, this might or might not be a surprise, but I use more or less 20 to 30 paints. So the lesson here is to keep the paint list pretty short. You can probably mix all of the shades that you want with the paints that you already have. Just to get things 100% clear here, I am not discouraging you from buying paints. I just want to tell you from my own experience that you will probably not need as many paints as I have. So of course, test new paints, the ones you feel comfortable with, and stick to them. It is quite convenient to have all of the shades of green, for example, ready in separate bottles, but if you don't want to spend money on paints you will use once or twice, just mix them yourself. Number 2. The airbrush. If you have watched some of my painting videos, you know that I use the airbrush for all of my projects to some extent. But you don't need it. Of course, the rest can be done just by a regular brush. And I mean, it is very comfortable, but it is of course also very expensive and loud. Alright, so let me just illustrate something to you. How loud is the airbrush when it's pumping air? So as you can see, and sorry for the background noise and me speaking so loudly, but as you can see the mic is more or less next to the airbrush and it should be turned off. So I can turn it on, turn it off, but let's turn it off and let's spray some air out of it. Alright, I think that's enough. And now let's turn the airbrush on and just listen to how loud it is. The recorded session doesn't show the full extent of the noise. It is not critically bad, but if you intend a long airbrush session, you will feel discomfort after some time. The air bottle isn't that big and it activates pretty quickly. The compressor also can get pretty hot. Up to you if you can deal with this. Number 3. Basing materials. So the story here is more or less the same as with the paints. Get a limited amount of basing materials. Don't buy them in large amounts. I use a few basing materials most of the time, plus some tufts. And of course some pigment powders on occasion. The rest is just sitting there and I don't even know if they have an expiration date. Probably not, but still they are useless at the moment. And believe me, especially don't buy them after a few drinks. If you will feel the need to get something specific, just look for it outside. You can find everything that you need for a simple base like cork bark, sand, branches, leaves. It's all there and it's free. Number 4. A bunch of brushes. So this was also mentioned in the previous video, so I'll try to make it as short as possible. You don't need all of those brushes. Get 1 or 2 precise detail brushes, 1 or 2 cheap ones, a dry brush, and that's it. And definitely get a good brush cleaner and learn how to use it. Let's be honest, you really don't need them. Most of the time we'll use 2 or 3. Of course, you can have as many as you want, but why waste money? Number 5. Pile of shame. Oh yes, the mythical pile of shame. I think we all have it at some point of our hobby, and I know that this is a hot topic. We all want as many models as possible. The feeling of having them is great. But think of it this way. Let me give you a quick calculation. I have more or less 500 models. I paint one model or a group 7 up to 14 days. And let's take 14 days into this calculation. This means that if I would paint every day counting 500 plus models minimum, my pile of shame would last me almost 18 years. So the question is, how many models do you need? I am getting rid of a big portion of them at the moment. I want to get down to 200, max 300. I have 4 armies to paint, but those will probably be not for the channel. And I want to have a good stack of models for the channel as well. 300 then is a good number. This means that I probably have to sell half of the things that I have right now. And quite to be frank, this is a very liberal number. It would probably take 4 to 5 times as long with my speed of painting. So, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you learned something or at least had a little fun while watching it. And of course, don't forget to share, like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it if you would do that. You will also see right now here and here the links to my Instagram and my Patreon. I would be really happy if you would consider joining one of them. And of course guys, thanks a lot and let's see you in the next video.